Hi there.
Hello, Richard. How are
Hi.
you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Nice to see you.
And you?
Well, I'm fine. Well, I have to admit that I was really looking forward to interviewing you because you're an artist who has been in the music world for a very long time. And I'm sure you've experienced all the changes in the industry very intensely, especially the most recent ones. With that in mind, I like to ask you, in your case, what is life like for a musician like you nowadays? I mean, is it easier or more complicated than before?
Well, for me personally, it's now easier and life is good and everything makes sense. And I understand how the industry works. But this is at the end of a really long journey. So my situation is very different than somebody who is now starting a musical career.
Mhm.
And now to start something is very difficult. Because there's so much music, there's so many people making music, there's access to everything. So it becomes very hard for young artists to kind of find a way of doing something different, original, or unique. Um, so, of course, it's different for me. I've had to go through a lot of hard times, struggles, um, not understanding the industry. Um, and it's taken a long while to get where I am today. And
Hmm.
but yeah, now for me it's good, but I think for most people maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. When you set out to create an album like Hauntings, do you
Mm.
think in terms of a specific them or conceptual thread, or do you approach it more from a sonic perspective?
No, there's a kind of concept. I'd been trying to write music for 2 years for a new album, but nothing was happening. Just not any good ideas, or it didn't excite me. And then suddenly one day I was thinking certain things, and then I got a combination of sounds and something just clicks. I don't know how or why, but you wait and then eventually it comes to you. And I had this concept of this kind of memories and these memories from dreams, but memories also from real life. And then sometimes memories that aren't real that I didn't have. And all these thoughts came to me, and the combination of sounds, I started to build these kind of sound worlds for each memory and for each experience. And then it happened very quickly. So 2 years, nothing, and then 2 months finished.
That's good. Well, I've always felt that your music is very cinematic. Have you explored this quality for sync placement in films, documentaries, or other audiovisual productions? And if so, where can your music be heard in that context?
Well, unfortunately, it can't. I wish that somebody would ask me. Um, it's my unfulfilled ambition was to write a film score, and the kind of music I've made over the years, I think I could do that, and it would work for so many situations, but it never happened.
Oh, good. So I've always thought there are artists who make music purely for pleasure and creative necessity, and others who also aim to maximize the financial return of what they do. Assuming the ideal situation is somewhere in between, if you want to pursue this professionally, how do you see that balance?
Yes, I can understand the balance. I mean, for me, money has never been a motivating thing, and it wasn't for the group Japan, and it wasn't for Porcupine Tree. Um, that's not why I ever made music. I made music because of the the love I have for it. the love I have for so many albums that I bought when I was a young kid. The whole concept of an album, just as a format, was so special to me. And then I got to make my own, and it's an amazing thing. But not always pleasure. Pleasure isn't always the thing. It's more, you said, necessity. I think sometimes it just happens that ideas come, and you just feel you need to do something with them. You need to do something with the kind of pictures in your mind, and you need to do something with the emotions. And it can then become enjoyable, but it's more of a necessity. But I don't know when it happens. It happens when it happens.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, I think Hauntings is an album to be listened to while sitting down with your eyes closed or in an intimate setting accompanied by visuals, but that's just my impression, of course. How do you recommend listening to this album? What kind of experience do you hope to create for the listener?
Well, the album is being released also in surround, in Dolby Atmos. So obviously, if anybody has this kind of system, then that would be ideal. But also, I'm going to make available a binaural mix. So the binaural mix is for headphones only. And it's it's between the stereo mix and the Atmos mix. It's a kind of in between that gives you a sense of both of those things. And for me, it's the best listening experience.
Yeah.
Now that's not available on the albums, but I'm going to make that available on Stephen Wilson's new Headphone Dust site for high quality audio downloads. So people can listen to the binaural surround, or if they're listening in stereo, as I mostly do myself, I still like headphones. I still enjoy, just being in my own world with the headphones, definitely.
Taking your time, relaxed in your house.
Yeah, I think so. And then just seeing where the music takes you. Yeah, what kind of images come to mind.
Okay. Well, probably it's too early to do this question, but in which places will you be presenting this album, and why did you choose those places?
Well, I'm going to present the album as on playbacks. So I just heard today they've just been announced. So there's one in London on the 9th of April at the Soho Hotel. And it will be a Dolby Atmos surround playback. And then the next day I'm doing one at the Kingston upon Thames University. Again, another playback, but this time I'm going to do a short performance as well. And then I think I'm doing one in Liverpool at the Philharmonic, where I'll do another performance and then playback.
Okay.
So no concerts, major kind of concerts at the moment, but just presenting the music, talking about it, and doing a little kind of improvisation performance.
Okay, looks good. Well, based on titles such as Victorian Great Traveler or Paris Sketch, I get the impression that you're someone who enjoys traveling, reading, and immersing yourself in other cultures that later find their way into your music. Am I right?
Yes, exactly. Places have always been an inspiration, films as well, but certainly places. And so some of these are kind of my little film scores for these places, but also there are places I've never been that I dream about. And it's the same place each time. I go back, I know the place, but I've never been there. And it's in Victorian times. And I can see everything. There are people that I see who are the same people. And so one of the tracks is kind of about trying to recreate that sound world, to give a musical interpretation of where I go in this dream. And it's called 1890. And it's not really a musical piece. It's just a sound design piece with chimes, musical boxes, thunderstorms, all these kind of things that I'm trying to create this atmosphere with.
Okay, very, very, very interesting. Well, there's something about your music that I really love, and it's that it doesn't sound like anyone else. I can understand your influences, but your personal identity is always there. Do you think having a distinctive sonic identity is more important in order to be recognized in the music industry?
Yes, I do. Thanks for that comment as well. And yes, I mean that's all I have. I work in a very narrow field. I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a great technical player. I can't play other instruments. I don't write lyrics. So I work in this very narrow field, but I've tried to have a unique voice in this field. And that is synthesizers, electronics, atmospheric music. So that's my strength. But I have so many weaknesses as a musician because I can't do so many things as a musician. But I condense everything I can do into this one thing, and I like to think it's kind of unique. People can tell and recognize that it's me.
You do what you have to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can only work with the tools that you have and the talent that you have.
Okay. Well, I've always thought instrumental music is harder to communicate because the instrumentation has to carry the emotional component that the voice usually provides. How do you manage to move listeners without that direct guide?
Well, first of all, it's very important to choose a good title. So you try with the title to describe as much of the concept as you can. So, for example, track 2 on my album is called Anemoia. Anemoia is a new word that was invented quite recently to describe the feeling of nostalgia for something that didn't happen.
Okay.
Or nostalgia for an event that you didn't experience. So I think we all get nostalgic sometimes about things that we didn't experience. I can listen to some, I don't know, early Beatles music and it feels nostalgic. But I never experienced it. I was just too small, too young I don't know what it was about. I have no connection with it. But for some reason, there's a feeling of this nostalgia. And you get this from films, you get this from music. And so the title sums up precisely what I was trying to convey with that track. Likewise, I was saying 1890 is another, that's very specific.
Of course.
You have the exact year.
Yeah.
And then there's a track called Victorian Wraith, which is a ghost, a kind of a Victorian apparition, a ghost, which I actually saw when I was young. So that is a real memory.
Wow.
But I think children see things when they're very young. I think their brains are more open to things. And then when you grow older, you don't see them anymore and everything is logical then. And then there's a track, for example, called A New Simulation. And this explores whether we live in a simulation of some kind with AI now and going into the future. We will be able to experience worlds that we create. We will be able to create places, environments, people, relationships. People will be living in a simulation if they want. So I think it's quite an interesting concept as to what is real and what isn't and how we perceive things.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Yes. To what extent is solid music training and theoretical knowledge important when working with major bands like Porcupine Tree or Japan? Or even when working on your own albums, you have said before that you're limited in some parts of the of as musician, but how
Yeah.
important is to have that training and that theoretical knowledge?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it can be a weakness because sometimes you wish that you could do things. You wish you could play a jam and play the blues or play jazz or something, but I don't understand the theory of that and how that works. So when I approach the keyboard, it's in a different way. Now that's also my strength, and that is what works in Japan and works in Porcupine Tree because it brings something different. In Porcupine Tree, we have on one side Gavin Harrison, who is
Yes.
unbelievable musician. I mean, technically in control of everything that he does, understanding everything, understanding the theory of everything. Amazing, best musician I've played with. And on the other side is me with none of that experience or theory, but I'm coming at the music from a different angle with sound and atmosphere and abstract ideas. And in the middle, Stephen is kind of everything. He has dialogues with both myself and Gavin and understandings with us, but also he can shape things into a song, creating lyrics, creating concepts, creating beautiful melodies. He can bring everything together. Now, if I was replaced with someone like Rick Wakeman or I don't know, some technical keyboard player, then Porcupine Tree would be something very different.
Definitely.
And I don't think it would be as special. I think it would just be a good prog band, but it wouldn't have something that kind of gives us that special something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, are you, Richard, a music collector? I can see that you have a lot of gear for playing surrounding you. But are you music collection? I mean, do you buy CDs or vinyls or?
I do. I think back in the 80s, I sold my vinyl. And that's a shame because now I'm rebuying vinyl, but it takes
And you
so
miss
long.
it.
It's so expensive and so long. It would take me forever. So I try to just buy those special albums and, start with my top 10, top 20, top 50, and then start buying those vinyl, just not to play them because I prefer to play the CD or digital. I prefer
only
the sound.
as collector, yes. Yeah.
I prefer the sound as well of, of a CD to vinyl. But to have the vinyl, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Definitely. Yes.
And yeah, it's so important. I mean, so yes, I do like to collect.
Okay. And in your opinion, what is the point of continuing to make full albums today when fewer and fewer people seem to have the patience to listen to them from start to finish?
Yes, of course. Well, I think probably I'm of the last generation maybe to do this. But because I grew up with the album as something precious and special, then that stays with me through my whole life. So and for the listeners, it stays with them. And they're people who buy all the Porcupine Tree vinyl because that's their era, that's how they experience music and they still do, we're the last generation that will have the time to spare, to sit down, to listen, to concentrate. But it becomes more and more difficult, obviously, because people can't stop with the phones, with the computer, with the TikTok.
That's a big problem, yes.
Everybody wants something in very small amounts, and music becomes just an accompaniment, to your life. But, these things go in stages. and in phases. So there will always be great artists. There'll always be interesting stuff happening. And that will continue. Even with AI, I think there will be interesting art still created. But as I say, I think we're the last generation to really have this relationship with vinyl and with physical kind of packaging and the whole tactile thing. You know, for me, like these old things, it's like classic cars. It's just it's something that you interact with, and you feel differently to that than you do for software.
Yeah.
Which is just zeros and ones, you know.
It's a different thing. Yes.
It's a different thing altogether. And, you know, these things are unpredictable as well, which is great. It depends on the light, how it plays, or on the heat, how hot the place is. It depends on all kinds of things, impedances. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Well, besides being a musician, you're also a sound engineer. And how important is it to develop a wide range of skills within the music business in order to make a living from it?
Yes, I think that is important, and I think that's something that kids can learn quite quickly when they're young, because they're going to take in more information, and they're going to be open to new ideas and how things work. So it is a great help if you know how things work. And probably what I've got better at is maybe the engineering and the mixing, because I mix as I go along. In the old days, you used to have all the faders down at 0 and you start building up a mix.
Yeah.
But now, you obviously, with the technology we have, we can save things and we can make the slightest adjustments as we go along. So we are always assessing the music and the mix. That's good. I don't know if there's a big job for producers anymore to work in the same way. I'm not sure. I've produced some bands and that's great because of the interaction you have and the kind of social side. But I don't think that really happens anymore. I think studios now are just used for the big events. You go in and record an orchestra, or you record certain parts, and then you come out, you take it home, and you carry on.
Okay, well, some time ago, I saw a picture of your workspace on Facebook, just the place where you are now. And the amount of gear you have is impressive. They say the difference between a child and an adult is the price of their toys. I imagine that to stay competitive and create without limitations, it's necessary to invest heavily in equipment, right? Do you agree?
You know, I made a lot of my music in the early days on maybe 1 or 2 pieces of gear.
Oh.
You know, the Japan stuff was often done primarily on maybe just 2 or 3 synthesizers. And it's good to just really learn what each one does and get all the possibilities out of that. Sometimes limitations are good for that. And yeah, I mean, there's probably too much here, but it's nice to have everything to hand. And when I work, I can't work on everything because you can't concentrate. So I pick combinations of things each time, a combination of three pieces of equipment, and I'll use those for that track. And then for another track, I'll work on another combination of 2 things maybe, and just use those. So I get to work in different ways, and it keeps me interested as well, and it's more enjoyable.
And which is your minimum setup where you're going to play live? Because I suppose you have to take it to the venue, then take it back.
Yeah, right. Well, with Porcupine Tree, there's quite a lot of gear, but it's not a problem getting it around or anything. I mean, touring with Porcupine Tree is now, you know, we don't have to do anything. We just turn up. which is like a luxury. So everything will be set up. And I use a kind of mixture. So I use some analog, some virtual analog, digital, and then some software as well.
Mhm.
But you need certain things for, like you have to have, I don't know, the right Fender Rhodes sound or a Mellotron sound. So you need one thing just for that.
Yeah.
And then that means more hardware.
Mhm.
And then you think, oh, there's a solo, but it was on this other keyboard, so I have to bring this along to do it on this one. And so it can get a bit, out of hand. But then I'm going to be doing some little performances soon where I'm just going to have just one thing.
Mhm.
And I'll just use this one thing for a 30, 40-minute set.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to make the last question. Do you listen to new artists, or do you discover new artists that in a way could inspire you in the music you do, or you only listen to classic music? I mean, classic bands from the 70s and things like that.
Yeah. Well, of course, there's always so much from the 60s, 70s, 80s that I haven't heard, that I go back to investigate new bands from that time that I never got to hear. And of course, there's always the things that you just love that you will always play. But no, I like to be given recommendations. That's usually what happens. Other people who listen more than I do will give me recommendations about things. I mean, I think the last thing I bought was a Cure album, the new Cure album. Cure, yeah, yeah, really nice.
Yeah,
really.
I've also listened to it, and it's very, very good. It's good.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Do you know the keyboardist called Claudio Simonetti of an Italian band called Goblin?
Oh, I know Goblin, but I don't know the names of all the people in it. But
the keyboardist is called Claudio Simonetti.
Okay.
I think it's in your same age, more or less, and his father also was a musician. And I'm fell in love with that band and that music, and I tried to follow him through Europe when he plays not too far away from my house. I used to take a plane and go to the city and see the show and come back.
Wow!
So that's my recommendation for you. Just listen to it because Claudio Simonetti put music to several movies of Dario Argento.
Yes, did they do the Suspiria?
Yeah, of course, yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Profondo
Amazing.
Rosso, Deep Read, and Suspiria, and some others which are very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation. If you haven't heard him enough, try to do it again, because I think it's going, to, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to inspire you, but yes, he's a musician easily recognizable, just like you. So that's something in common.
Okay, I will check all that out. Yeah, I mean, there were some good Italian bands in the 70s, prog bands, but Italy's not a place now for anything interesting musically, I don't think.
Okay.
What about Spain? What's the situation in Spain?
Well, I think it's the same situation all over the world. It's no good perspective, but we have to keep on working on this and doing our best.
I think as well, it's the kind of, like the family relationships in countries like Spain and Italy. Family is very close.
Yeah, definitely, it's very close. And we are very, very warm people because of the temperature, the weather.
Yes, and usually it's possible you have the grandparents living in the same place with the parents, and you also have the children at home.
Yeah, it's more usual than expected, yes.
But which is really nice. But the problem for arts is that they all kind of like the same things and watch the same things. And the children kind of, their taste is, if you're a child, your taste shouldn't be the same as your parent.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
And also you need to leave home soon if you can.
to discover the world by yourself, and then
exactly. And I think that's why there's never been like a real kind of music scene, a young music scene. In more the Latin countries. And I think it's a social thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Well, Richard, it's been a really pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much indeed for your time, and congratulations for your new album.
Thank you.
I really hope to see you. I don't know if playing your solo music or with Porcupine Tree or whatever, but I really would love to meet you in person one day.
That'd be nice. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you so much.
I enjoyed the interview.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay.